just take all that out later. She's also from so yeah, I kind of suck really for a minute, man.
Is that distilled water you're drinking?
Yeah, right. It's 100% agave tequila.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So this is the way we get the show started off.
You ever had the tequila with the tequila worm inside of it?
The tequila what?
The tequila worm.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, when I was younger, I ate one out of a bottle. Okay. That's the old familiar sound of my show. That's usually a beer can. But I've got one right here, so don't worry about that. All right, man. So,
cool.
Sean Gibbons, thank you for appearing on the show.
No problem, man.
All right, man.
You offered me this about a year and a half ago, and I think when we was discussing it at the time, you said that you wanted me to come onto the show because of the information I had, but I didn't tell you, I think, in depth until we'd, I think, conversed a bit more through Facebook. And, like, at the time, I was going through a bit of, like, problems myself, and I needed to, like, overcome and find my inner self again to find the confidence to speak out, because I've had, like, both sides of the spectrum. The good side of some people hearing my story, not to the full extent, and they've said good things and they want me to tell more people. And then I've had the bad side, you know. Some people say, you know, watch what you say, and just kind of generally try to be careful about what it is I'm speaking about. But I'm an open book. If people want to know the truth, I'll be happy to explain to anyone. But I promised you a long time ago that you'd be the first person to hear anything, and I didn't want to just half-heartedly tell you half of the stuff that I know. If I was going to tell you anything, I wanted to tell you everything, you know? Yeah. But because I'm so close with my family, like my mum's side specifically, as opposed to any of the other side, I wanted to make sure that my mum was aware of what I was getting myself into, and I wanted her to be aware that, obviously, because she's going to be mentioned, my uncle's going to be mentioned, pretty much the majority of my family will be mentioned in this. And I wanted her to just clarify and be aware that, like, obviously, you are who you say you are. You know, you're an inspirational person. You speak the truth like me. And you want the people to know the fundamentals where the truth is being, I feel, dictated to us. We're no longer in a communized, civilized society. We're all doctrinated into thinking one way. And it's people like me and you that have got to lead the people into knowing what is actually going on behind the scenes.
That's absolutely correct. I can hear you just fine, Sean. You don't have to hold that up there. Your
right,
voice, cool. I'm looking at the meters here, and your voice is coming in just fine.
Quality. So, yeah, I just had to, you know, ask a few people if it was okay if I disclose, you know, their life, pretty much. Like my uncle being one. He's going to be a big one, but it depends how you want to go about this. Do you want to talk about my story first and the things I've gone through, or do you want to hear the other side of the coin, which is where my uncle's worked for the Queen, and he's been doing it for the best part of 20 plus years now, and the United States American Embassy here in the UK. So I don't know whether you know, but here in the UK, all the embassies, like, they're multilingual. They speak, like, the ambassador speaks a multi-diverse range of languages, but he's not allowed to be in the United States. He has to stay at the American Embassy for a set period of time because of set obligations to him.
Yes, and also, hearkening back to the old days, he's somewhat of a hostage.
Yeah. It's a private grounds. I mean, typically speaking, if you ask anyone in the UK, is there any police with, like, armed police with guns, they'll say no. But they're wrong. You go to these public places, well, you can walk the public streets and you will see big, massive black gates that you would have no idea what's behind there. and in front of those gates are armed guards. So again, we do have armed guards here. It's just they're protecting something very, very, very important. Now, someone like me that has gone behind those gates, it's not really many heard of, you know, and that's because I'm an actual relative of the head gardener of Winfield. I think it's Winfield House. Yeah, you can Google it as well. It's a massive private plot of land next to, do you know London Zoo in London? Here in the UK?
I'm not that familiar with it, but is that where you're calling from right now, is London?
Oh, no. Right now, I'm in Norfolk.
You're in where?
Norfolk.
Norfolk?
Yeah, Norfolk. Norfolk. Norfolk.
Norfolk. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Which is, if you look at the United Kingdom, it's what I'd call the arse end of the map. You know, it's that big bubble bit, and I'm on the coastline. But I did tell you that a little while back, the last conversation we had before I kind of, like I said, I had to go soul searching about the UK's Roswell incident here in Lowestoft, which is right next to the doors of Norfolk. It was called.
That sounds like a good place to start. And so let's go ahead and, go with the formalities, or maybe dispense with the facilities, and just let me say, welcome to another exciting episode of You Don't Know.
I'm glad to be a part of. I'm glad to be a part of your true talking.
Might happen to you. On the show today from the UK, we have Sean Gibbons. Sean is here to relate a personal story, his life story. He is a contactee at the very least. We're going to let him elaborate on that. And I've known Sean on Facebook for about 1.5 years now, and this is the first time he's been interviewed on any show. And I'm also just now finding out that his uncle is the head gardener at one of these places that's associated with the royalty of England. In other words, I don't know if it's a castle or a compound. What place is he the head gardener at?
Winfield House. It's right next to, anyone in the United Kingdom has heard of London Zoo. You can Google it. It's right next to a big, massive open park called Regent's Park.
Yes, London Zoo. I've heard of London Zoo.
To that is these. Right next door to that, and next door to Regent's Park, is a big black gates, which behind that is like a little bungalow offset or adjacent to the gate, and then on the other side is like a 50 or 40 plus room mansion. Now, the family that live in there, as I've already kind of like pre-said, is the American ambassador. So. He's someone that speaks he's a multilinguist. He diverses in about, 10, maybe 12 languages.
This is an American ambassador?
Pardon?
He's the ambassador from the United States?
Yes, but he resides a lot of the time on this particular ground in this mansion. That is where his, residual home in the United Kingdom is. But it's not his home. He just lives in that home because it's provided to him by the Queen.
Yes,
you know?
And so obviously he's got plenty of CIA agents right in there with him.
Not so much CIA. It's more of MI6 or MI5 sort of style. But the guards that are there, they're just normal coppers. They don't have a clue what's going on behind the scenes. They can only go in there for a short amount of breaks. See, I was quite lucky as well. Obviously, from growing up, I didn't really know anything to do about, my mum's family or anything like this. But the heritage that I have is my mum's side, they come from Walthamstow,
Orkney?
Walthamstow in London.
How do you spell that?
WALTHAMT. No, yeah. WALTHAMSTOW. Walthamstow.
Okay.
and that's in London. Well, that's where they typically come from. But a lot of my other family live in Winchester. Now, that's kind of a heritage in itself, because Winchester, before London was the capital of the United Kingdom, Winchester was. And that is actually where King Arthur's Round Table is to this day. So that's
fascinating, yeah.
But, so, my uncle's been in this job for 20 years, and he's been the head landscape gardener for the Queen. I mean, you can search him up. His name is Stephen Crisp. You can search it in Google. You can read all the information. But
how do you spell his last name?
Crisp, Crisp.
Crisp. Okay, got it.
And that is my mother's maiden name until she married my dad, because I'm her eldest child. And
so
then,
you're a Gibbons and a Crisp.
Yes, somewhat, yeah, to some extent. But I'm a Gibbons. Like,
well, yeah.
Regardless of my situation between me and my dad, which is a bit of a sore subject, I will always carry on that legacy name. You know, Gibbons will always be where I am. That's where my heart is.
Yeah, I didn't mean my name. I just meant like genetically speaking, that you're half Crisp.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, from a young age, all I knew is that my mum's eldest brother lived in London. Didn't really know much about it, and then as time progressed and I got older, my mum eventually said, "Oh, would you like to come and go and visit your uncle?" So I said, "Yeah, fine." So I've gone there a few times, gone in these massive gates, not really understanding anything, because I'm too young to really know what's going on. All I know is there's this. It's a big, massive garden, and I can play football at the end of the garden if I want, or I can have a little kickabout. But I'm seeing these armed coppers, and they're waving these big electric sticks around the car as we're going into the gates, and I'm thinking what the hell is going on here? And they're scanning for all these weapons or whatever. But I'm just thinking, wow, I'm just a normal kid with my family. Why have I got to be searched or anything? But I went with the formalities anyways. Met my uncle, and then see him a few times, and we've gone back and forth, and then eventually, when my brother was about 7, and President Bush Jr. come into power, it was my brother's birthday on Boxing Day, right? And he received a letter from Mr. Bush himself, signed from him, wishing him a happy birthday. Didn't think nothing of it. Not at all.
That's nice.
And if you give me a week or so, I will be visiting my mum's soon, and I'll get you the picture of that letter, which will be evidence for a later show, maybe.
That was due to the fact that your uncle is the chief gardener for the Queen of England?
Yes.
Wow, that's fascinating. That is fascinating.
A lot of people would say, well, he's just a gardener, But, see, in this line of work, you've got professional people that are on screen, like A.N. Titchmarsh and all these professional gardeners.
Oh,
He's above
yeah,
all of them.
Oh, right, yeah, that's a very important job, especially with all the looks. They've got to preserve the look of the royalty, and everything has to look a certain way. And not only that, being any kind of insider, you really just see a lot, So
and it's the second most private estate after Buckingham Palace.
Wow, the second most private estate after Upland Palace? Who lives in Upland Palace?
Buckingham Palace.
Oh, how do you spell that?
Buckingham.
Oh, Buckingham Palace. Oh, okay, yeah, I know what that is.
The generic Buckingham Palace where the Queen has her speeches and all this.
Wow, yeah.
Now, you're probably thinking, oh, well, if his uncle is in this line of work, why do I want to talk about it, or what do I need to know, or why am I coming to talk to yourself? To you got these questions, and a lot of people have always said what is it that you want to talk to me about?
Yeah, let's find out.
I've been given the full go ahead to tell you right here, right now, that I can disclose everything I know.
Okay,
because
let's hear it.
I'm quite a conservative person in myself, and I know that you're an honest, like I said, an honest speaking person, and you want people to know the truth.
Yes.
And I feel that you're the best person that can get the message that I'm about to tell you out there.
Yeah, I'm honored to have you on my show.
Videos on YouTube of people saying, "Oh, reptilian this and reptilian that," and this celebrity's a reptilian and that person's a reptilian, right? Well, when I was about 10, I actually was quite lucky enough to meet the Queen.
Wow.
And I shook her hand alongside my brother. My brother was in his dad's arms at the time. And I believe my mum might even have that photo of me shaking her hand, right? But I thought it was kind of weird that I see a little few things that shouldn't happen, you know? Like her eye would kind of twitch in the corner, you know? If you can't, like, when I'm talking to you, if I look in your eyes, yeah, you don't mind that because you know that I'm acknowledging you, and you know then that I'm talking to you openly with my heart, right?
Yes.
You try and look in her eyes, she will do everything in her power to look away. Everything. She'll use every kind of tactic in the book. She'll kind of look away, or she'll then try and diverge or move away from the conversation you're having with her when you're trying to look her in the eyes and try and talk to someone else. Now, obviously, being a naive little kid, I've kind of like looked over to my mum and gone, "Mum, why is her eyes twitching like a reptilian, like a lizard?" And my mum's just looked at me, gone white in the face, and gone, "You shouldn't say that." And the Queen said to my uncle, like, asked him who I was and why I'm on the grounds, and he said, "Well, this is my nephew. He's my blood. You know, that's why I've allowed him to come in here." And because she respects my uncle, she kind of just like laughed it off and goes, "Oh no, I think you're just seeing things." Now, being a 12-year-old, and I'm looking at my mum and I'm saying, "Mum, this ain't right." Like,
she
you know,
heard you say that her eye was twitching like a lizard.
yeah.
Wow.
I was a 12. I'm a 12-year-old kid. You know, I don't know. Like, I was very young. Like,
that's hilarious.
And then, now the thing is when she smiles as well, she hasn't got teeth like me and you, bro.
What are her teeth like?
I guarantee you, I promise you right here, right now, yeah, the majority of these photos that you're seeing of the Queen, they've been photoshopped, right? Hands down. Now, I didn't see no scales or anything like this. Like, there was no imperfections of her skin. Like, generically speaking, what you see of her on screen or on TV, or that is what you see. But they do tend, when she talks, she tries to cover up her teeth. You'll notice that, right? Because if you can make her laugh, or you can try to stimulate her to have, you know, a natural laugh, you'll see that they're kind of thin, but like they're the same length as ours, but they're thin, and they're kind of like all around. And what I think is she uses some form of a cap or caps to put over the front of her teeth to sort of like stop that, you know.
Or maybe some type of holographic. There's maybe some holographic technology. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, you got to remember, I'm going back now to when I was 12. Like, that was the only time I've ever met her, and I wasn't. From what I gather, I wasn't allowed to meet her again. Like, from that point, because of that experience, you know. And so I dropped that bombshell to my mum, and then like I've carried on just like kind of lingering around, listening to the conversations of what's being spoken about and whatnot. And I'm seeing some mad things happening, like mine and your eyelids, we're humanoids, we're Homo sapiens, right? So our eyelids, we go. But can you explain to me why someone's would go sideways?
No.
Well,
her eyes, the Queen's eyelids did that?
Not so much the outer, like, do you know we have outer eyelids, like the ones that come down, yeah?
Oh, like an inner eyelid?
She's got like yeah, precisely that point. She has like almost like an inner protective lens, sort of. I don't know whether it's a contact lens that may have slipped to the side. It could have been. That could be one theory that someone has said to me before. But generally speaking, when you're 12 and you're seeing someone's eyelids go from side to side, and then you're seeing all these mad twitches, like nerve twitches, you know, like a nerve spasm in her head, like she's getting frustrated. Wow. And then she's getting agitated because I've kind of put her on a spot. you know, and then she's like doing some like kind of dodgy business, you know, like trying to show her authority and her power with my uncle. But my uncle's a very intelligent man, and he kind of divulged the situation pretty quick. And then as soon as I said to my mum, listen, right, like who is this, the Queen? I think the Queen's been kidnapped. My mum literally grabbed me by the hand and took me into another room, and she said to me, under no circumstances can you ever say anything like that. And I said, Mum, why? Like, I'm 12, I don't know who I'm looking at. How do we know that we're not being tricked? And my mum was completely gobsmacked. And I'm telling you now, from that point on, my life flipped upside down. Literally.
Wow. Like so maybe almost like you've been punished for seeing this or for remarking on it.
Yeah. And I remember vividly, right, about a couple months after that, things got a bit hostile between my family, you know, because there was arguments with my uncle and my mum because of what had been disclosed, what I'd said.
Because of the meeting with the Queen.
Yeah, and my
So
mum
that created a controversy.
My mum openly turned around to me and she said, right, Sean, that is the last time you're allowed to go to your uncle's. And I said, why? That's my uncle, you know, like, I love him, like I love all my family, like, why can't I go and see him? And she said, I don't know, but your uncle has been told he could lose his job. And I was like, what? What do you mean lose his job? You know, like, she's trying to explain this to a 12-year-old at the time, you've got to bear in mind, yeah? So I said to her, what do you mean uncle can lose his job? And she's like, well, he's in a very important job, Sean, and, you know, you kind of said a few things that you shouldn't have said to the Queen. And I said, what? What do you mean? I saw something I couldn't understand, and I'm asking you, Mum, you know? You're the person I come to when I'm confused or I need answers. And she goes, well, Sean, those answers, sometimes no one wants to tell you, even if they do know them. And from that point on, like I said, I quickly learned that, like, there's a lot of power play, you know? You say something or you do something because someone that's higher than you, you know, they've got that authority to, you know, put like a chokehold around someone that is good at their job, but they're naive to know that I'm a kid, you know? But, so this is a bit weird. That's the same year my brother got that letter from George W. Bush on his birthday. And because my brother has got a different dad to me, and his dad is bilingual too, he can speak fluently, I think, if I remember correct, 4 languages. He almost got offered...
4 languages?
Pardon?
Who speaks 4 languages?
My brother's dad. He can speak fluent English, fluent German, a little bit of Spanish, and I believe it's Italian. I'm not sure. It's either Italian. There's another language I think he knows.
Okay.
No,
so I'm starting to get the picture. Your family's a part of this. You know, at the very least, there are certain people in your family are in service to basically the Illuminati, if not just outright.
My uncle more so. Yeah. I mean, he's been there's in certain jobs like a baker. There's a union. Yeah, and that union, later on down the line, they give you certain rewards and certain accomplishments, right? Now, he is a stonemason now, my uncle. He's got certain, you know, certain powers, but, like, who am I to say to him he shouldn't have that? He's earned that. He's devoted the majority of his life to plants. All the way through his life, he was bullied because of... They looked at him as being, you know, gay or that way inclined, and he was either beaten up in the streets in London because he's quite old now as well.
Your uncle. Let me make sure I'm understanding. Who is gay?
My uncle.
Oh, okay, all right. Just trying to. I'm just trying to get to.
Like I said, I'm divulging everything. Yeah, but
that's fine.
It's not typically known. I don't mind if you edit that out, but I want to be honest with you. I don't mind.
Sure, yeah,
like,
yeah. There's
all
no
of
problem.
that,
I live in Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas. It's very everything in here in Austin is very.
But again, so he spent a lot of years doing this job.
Yes.
Like, so for someone to assume or to say that he's an elite, it's not really true. Yeah, he's got those titles, but he doesn't abuse that power because of his role that he has. He's a gardener. He can't just go in there and say, "Oh, I've been an idiot. I've got drunk. I've gone out and I've stripped in the street. I've got arrested. Can you kind of like waiver that? That sort of shit don't happen typically with him because
right. Yeah, no, I understand these things.
But he's very, very, very high up in his job. Yes, like I'm not going to dispute that. He goes to these very prestigious meetings. He meets with very high class individuals that are celebrities. He's got tons of photos of different celebrities he's met and shook hands with. But again, so that's that. So that's the thing with my uncle now clarified, right? But so I've spoken of the experience I had with meeting the Queen now, and I'm telling you right now, 100%, I know, she is part reptilian. I don't think she's a draconian. I think I spoke to you about this before. I asked you for some information or insight in the draconians that can't shapeshift into human form. That's how I differentiate between what people assume are reptilians and people that assume are draconian. Yes, there's human hybrids. Yes, the royalties are, I believe, dabbling in blood. I believe what they're doing is they're using dialysis machines to take their blood out. They're then using cloned blood with, say, special blood that they consider special blood, like blood of giants like Gilgamesh and Nimrod, who was found in Iraq. That's one reason why the Americans went and invaded Iraq.
This is getting very interesting. Yeah, we're digging this.
The gene pool of giants and these Nephilim and all these secret entities, they want to infuse upon in themselves because they believe that they can harness the powers within them. Yeah? So I believe that someone like the Queen, the reason why she can live a long lifespan is because what she's doing is she's using dialysis machines that suck her blood out, and then I believe that there's underground bunkers in the United Kingdom entranced with London Underground, because there's old train systems that aren't used that are still there, but they were used for World War I and World War II.
Are they underground?
Yes.
Wow.
So again,
that's interesting.
I believe the UK has their own set of DUMBs, deep underground military bases, but again, it's not really spoken of much.
Let me interject this right quick, Sean.
Yep.
And I know, I'm not sure how much you know about my history, but I've written the book, My Family Created the National Security State. But there is a conspiracy theorist that has been killed here in the United States, and his name was William Cooper. Bill Cooper.
And Philip Schneider.
Yeah.
I'm going to get as well.
A lot of
Philip
people.
Schneider is one of my biggest inspirations of truth speakers out there.
Who?
He isn't a whistleblower. He's telling the truth. The same as Bob Lazar and the same as Stan Bush, the biologist employed by S4 and employed by the military.
In William Cooper's biggest book, Behold a Pale Horse, he personally accused my great uncle of being the man in the United States who started the DUMB bases, the deep underground military bases, joint military alien bases. That's his number one book. You go to that book and look it up. He accuses my great uncle by name. So I know what you're talking about with these underground bases, and of course you've got Miles Johnson has the Bases Project. And so this production company that's filming this show that you're on right now, you don't know, this is Bases Texas. Miles Johnson kind of gave his permission for me to kind of do an American takeoff of the Bases Project. Cool. So that's I'm totally down with this underground idea that you're talking about.
But again, so going back to what I was saying with the Queen, so I believe the reason why these queens or these royalties or these people in high powers have got this long lifespan, or how they can live for a long time and then, I don't know, either change their persona or change their personal figments to then pretend to be someone else and then let someone else step in, is because what they're doing is they're strapping themselves to dialysis machines which suck out all their blood. Yeah. Then because they have clones of themselves, I believe, yeah, which is part infused with their own blood anyways, because it's a clone of them, they can then harvest that blood, mix it with blood of giants or these, very expensive genomes, which then can be manipulated with the Rh negative gene. The Rh negative gene can accept anyone's blood.
Yeah, I've got type O negative. Do you know your blood type? I've heard, you tell me if this is true, I've heard that in the United Kingdom, it is illegal for a person to know their blood type.
No. In the United Kingdom, if you're in the Army Cadets or you're in the Air Cadets, they have to know your blood type.
Well, no, I'm not saying that they don't have to know. I'm saying that you personally are with, that information is withheld from the person themselves.
I'll look into that. That's kind of piqued my curiosity.
Yeah, look into that, because over here we can just order a little test kit, and you can test yourself. And of course, I've been tested by I've been.
Is that over the internet? Is that over the internet you order that?
Yes.
Oh, so I could probably order it here and get it sent here, right?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, there's things that are illegal in the United States that are on the internet, and they won't send it to the United States. I mean, I don't know. I can't, but yeah, go ahead and look into that. But I can tell you that I am the rarest, or not, almost one of the rarest types of Rh negative, and that is type O negative. I'm a type O negative blood type.
So typically speaking, there is an Rh negative group that can accept all blood, right? And what they're doing is they're
it's just the opposite. All of the other bloods can accept theirs. Like, for instance, a type O negative, anyone can take my blood, but I can only take blood from a type O negative.
That's
what makes me a universal donor. If anyone is bleeding to death, they can take blood from me.
So just say, for argument's sake, they get an embryo and a sperm, yeah? Say an embryo of the queen and a sperm of an Rh, say, negative or whatever person, and they make a clone, and then they fast track the speed of that life cycle of that clone with nutrients and all this in like test tubes and shit. They speed it up, and then they suck that blood out of that clone as if it's not even a human no more, like it's Dolly the sheep in the United Kingdom. I don't know whether anyone's remember that. And then what they do is they then use that blood and they infuse it in themselves, because the dialysis machine has sucked out all their negative blood, like that, and then it's gone boink with this new blood. But because it's part, susceptible and been created with their blood and this other blood, this Rh negative, and it's been fused with, say, the blood of a giant or Nephilim or Jesus on his shroud that was discovered, supposedly, whatever. Like anything like that, yeah, that's been mentioned, or Nostradamus or anyone like this, those bloods are very, very valuable, right? And there is a series called Holocaust of the Giants, I believe.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to see. This is another thing. My brain's a bit sketchy with remembering certain things like that. But it's something like Holocaust of the Giants. But it's a very, very enthralling thing. And the dude says in that, the gene of something like a Nephilim that stands 36 foot tall, that has the power of, say, a god, is worth billions, right? Me and you typically can't. I don't know, but like I'm just speaking from what I'm saying. I typically can't afford that sort of blood, Like, so you got to think, I wonder who's got that sort of money to be able to pay for this genome. Why would they want that, And again, it falls back to this elitist group. Like, if you think logically, yeah, Larry Silverstein bought the Twin Towers, right? He then put insurance policy out on those Twin Towers, and then within 2 weeks it got, or however long it got destroyed. Yeah, there's a big hoo-ha, but I'm telling you now, that was planned demolition. Why hasn't none of the black boxes from those planes been found? Why won't they publicly, openly address?
Because there were no planes. There were no
Exactly.
planes.
There was no planes. That
There
was
were
all
holographic.
CGI
It was a
news.
holographic
Yeah,
projection.
yeah, exactly. Now, again, on top of that, I believe Larry Silverstein is one of these elites, right? What would he do with all that billions of pounds? He'd invest in these gene types because he too is an old man. They want their fundamental goal is to become immortal. That is why I believe they do all these blood sacrifices, these blood rituals.
Absolutely.
It's not so much they're
Absolutely,
reducing
yeah.
it, they're physically injecting it into them.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that is how I perceived it in my brain. But again, going back, right? So that's that. That's everything I know there, covered with the Queen. And I'm telling you now, shit is going to hit the fan when people know what I'm telling is the truth. Because eventually, it ain't just going to be me that's going to notice this and going to come out and speak. There will be a lot more. Now, again, I've got evidence, but you're going to have to give me a little bit more time, and I'll provide all the evidence I have, physical evidence, photographs.
Yeah.
Like I said, letter from George W. Bush, and there's going to be more as well, right? But going back to my story now, yeah, which is going to tie into this. So I never really knew anything, yeah, not much, didn't really have a clue. And then my mum got really, really stressed out of me one day, and it was because of this. We was coming back from a trip back from London to visit my stepdad's family, and my stepdad wanted to get some eggs and a few bits like poultry, chicken, and all this from a farm. And it was the usual thing we used to do. We used to stop off at a farm, get some veg, get some other little bits, and take it back home. Now, this is the thing. In the car, I had that same fucking twitch that the Queen had in my left eye. I had a spasm, yeah? Now, you got to remember, I did say I shook the Queen's hand. I don't know what the fuck happened, but I think she put some form of energy inside of me or done something, right? Because I've been weird ever since. Now, so I'm in the car, and my mum's in the passenger seat. Stepdad's got out of the car, and he's gone into the farm to go and get his bits. And my brother's sat next to me, right? And my eyes started twitching, and because it was so intense, I've just got like juddered and shut my eyes for a split second. As I've opened, I had this premonition in my mind. It was like an image that I could see in the future of something happening, which was, it's going to sound ridiculously funny, right? And anyone that hears this is going to laugh. But imagine if this was your child telling you this, right? I said, Mum, I don't know why I feel like this. I've just had a weird moment, you know? And she goes, what do you mean? I said, I've got a really funny suspicion, Mum, that on the way home, we're going to have to pull over. She goes, why? I went, I think the car tyre's going to pop. My mum, I said to my mum that I felt, and I had a premonition or a deja vu, or there's so many different terms you can use for this, but I feel I looked into the future for a split second, yeah? And what happened is I turned to my mum and I said to her, Mum, I think something's going to happen. Well, I think we're going to be stranded here for a few hours. And she goes, why? And I said to her, I think the car tyre's going to pop, Mum.
You think what?
I said to her, I think the car tyre is going to pop.
Oh, the car tire.
Yeah, the car tyre.
Okay.
So my mum just laughed it off, you know. This was the sort of like the first ever experience I said to her, you know, like, Mum, something's not quite right? And so what happened next was quite funny. My mum laughed it off. My brother's called me a knob and told me to shut up and stop being stupid. That can never happen. So I've just thought, oh, well, fuck all of you then. Like, I know something's not right. I can feel it. I can sense it. And certain things happened as well. Like, I kept getting this nervous twitch. I kept feeling like I needed to get out of the car. I felt drawn to just searching and making sure, you know. But I thought, you know what? They must be right. I must be just, you know, having a weird moment. So my stepdad's come back with all the bits, put it in the boot, got in the car. Literally, we've pulled off, and as we've gone to go and turn and make a left out onto the, like, because it's a T-junction out of the farm, yeah? You can either go left or go right. We went left to go home. Literally, I swear down, the car went to one side. And my mum literally span around in a chair, looked at me dead in the eyes, she went white in the face again, and she went, from this moment on, if you get one of those like little things, or you have a little moment like that again, you do not speak of it. I went, why? Why? If I see something, I'm going to tell you. You're my mum. That's what you're here for. She goes, the thing is, Sean, it's that old saying, you know, like, if you don't say nothing and it happens, then it's not going to be looked at as though you caused it. I went, right, okay. So I said, well, how does that make things fair for me? You know, if I'm seeing something and I can prevent it, I want to prevent it, you know? I don't want to just think, oh, okay, I'm right, when I don't know, and then I'm not doing nothing to prevent that. And she goes, yeah, I know what you're saying. Then
okay, so your mother is aware that there's some type of lineage in your family that has some type of precognition or something.
Yeah,
or some type of clairvoyance.
It'll all tie in, right? So that happened, and then my stepdad looked at my mum and said, what do you mean he's had one of these moments? And my mum explained to him everything that happened. He literally got out of the car, opened up my side of the door, pulled me out of the car, slammed both of the doors shut, and he said to me exactly what my mum said. If you speak of this like that, and it happens, you're speaking it up.
You speak what?
Right, he's quite superstitious, so he said, if things like that, and you see things like that, and things like that, you know, happen, you're generally not to speak of it if you see them things, because you're like damning the situation for it to happen, you know? If you don't speak of it, there's a chance it might not happen. That's how he looked at it.
Wow, let me tell you, he's got a lot of wisdom as well, it sounds like.
But I turned around to him and I said, well, you know, I've seen this happen, and it happened. And my mum still to this day is haunted by that experience, because she remembers a conversation that she had with, when I was born, with my nan and my actual dad, like, you know. And so my dad's mum turned around to my dad and my mum, and she has like this old heritage of like the gypsy, you know, a settled.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And in certain gypsy cultures, Romani or Irish or whatever you want to look at, right, or even just a stereotypical, you know, like gypsy, but they're not from those places. Like, just, you know, you're part of that traveling community, you know, but you could be English, but you're still a gypsy, right? Now, my nan found out about that situation with my mum, because my mum had to talk to someone, and she refused to talk to my dad, right? Mm-hmm. So my nan said this is my dad's mum, by the way. My nan then said to my mum that she needed to see me and she needed to talk to me. So my mum said, okay, give me a couple of weeks and we'll drive him down to see you. My mum drove me down to my nan's, and I spent some time with my nan, and my nan openly expressed and said, look, Sean, I've heard about what happened. She goes, I've got a completely different view to what your mum and your mum's husband has. I was like, right, okay. I was like, well, can you please shed some light? And she goes, look, I don't know what gift or what ability you may have, but something clearly ain't quite right. And then I explained to her what happened with the Queen, and my nan said, she goes, I've got a lot of respect for the Queen and the royal family, and I appreciate everything that they do for the community. But, she goes, the one thing I will hold against your mum is the fact that you shook her hand. Whatever's happened has led you, or has encouraged your genome to sprout something inside of you. And I was like, well,
that's exactly what I was going to say earlier. It's not. This is not necessarily something that the Queen gave you. It's that she activated something that was already within you.
Yeah. Like, so again, like I didn't know anything about this, and like I just shrugged this off and put it to the back of my head. I was just thinking, my nan's probably drunk, or, you know, God bless her. I love her to bits.
Who might be drunk? Your aunt might be drunk?
No, my nan. Because my nan was the one that was talking to me at the time. She was saying to me, you know, like, all these things, and she was expressing how she feels about like the culture.
Huh? Is that when you say man or nam? Does that mean your grandmother?
Yeah, my nana.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, my nana. So my grandma, she turned around to me and she goes, she said, right, basically certain children within the gypsy community, it doesn't matter whether they're male or female, they inherit certain genes from the the family member they kind of depict the more of. And unfortunately for me, I take after my dad. I've got his ugly gene, you know. I've got the fugly gene. So I look like him. I take after him in certain respects, and I've got part of my mum's mentality. And again, my nan turned around and she said to me, like, she felt that she could foresee certain things when she was growing up. And she turned around to me and she goes, she believes that she could speak to the dead and she was a clairvoyant, right? So I kind of shrugged that off, never really understood anything of it. And then I went to my stepdad's mum and dad. And I explained to you earlier that my stepdad at the time, he's half German, right? So his mum is German and his dad is English, right? And they met just after World War II, and they got together and they lived in the UK, and then they had obviously my stepdad and all that. But my stepdad's dad is a big lover of Red Indian culture, Red Indian history, and he has like miniature totems and
of what culture?
Like Red Indians, like the Apaches in the Native
American Indians,
yeah. Yeah. So he's got like little figurines and that in like a cabinet. I think he had a couple of like his dad's war medals in there and a few of these other little bits and bobs and that. And he also tried talking to me, and like at this point I was like, for fuck's sake, everyone's drilling it into me that I've got something wrong with me now. Like I feel as though that like I'm the odd one out, you know.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were born with the gift. There's many gifts. You were born with one of them. Some of these people, or sometimes these gifts wear off as the people get into puberty or something like this. Now, do you still have this gift, or did it wear off at a certain time?
Right. See, when I hit about 18, it got real bad. It got really intense.
Oh, you mean it increased?
Yes.
A lot of times it decreases.
Dramatically. It was a fundamental of a lot of things, though. Like,
okay.
Do you still have it right now to this day? To some extent, but I'm trying to shut it off for the time being.
Yeah, because it can lead to problems with socially.
Yeah, I mean, not so much that, but like, I've got to the point where like, if I could prove that I've got this, which I can, like I could quite easily have my mum on the phone and she'd happily admit it, but unfortunately at the moment she's sleeping, she does like late nights and late shifts, and currently here in the UK it is nearly 2 o'clock in the morning. But
oh wow,
yeah, but again I've got insomnia, it's one of those things, like when you've
I'm not gonna worry about it, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, if you can hear someone shouting in the background, that is also my friend. He's got
is he
mental
shouting
health.
at you?
No. He's in his bedroom. He's shouting at himself and arguing with himself. Like I'm supporting him. I stopped him from committing suicide 3.5 weeks ago. I'm a humble.
Now hold on a second. Now we've been recording an hour. That's fine. We're gonna keep on going.
Carry on, bro.
No, we're gonna keep on going.